Hello and welcome to the Burn KC ScorchCast. I am your host, Alex Blackburn, here to bring you the good KC sports news and the bad and the ugly. It's been a while. I understand that, and I do apologize for how long it's been since I've done an actual ScorchCast and not a live video. Many apologies. It's been a busy couple of weeks with Thanksgiving, with finals, with College Football Dogs writings. If you don't already know, I am Deputy Chief Editor of College Football Dogs. So, gotten a little busy. But I am basically finished with grad school. So, I can dedicate more time to my writings, to the Burn KC, and making it better with all the stuff that I'm learning about editing and about just general website work through my deputy chief editor duties. So be on the lookout for some site improvements over the next couple of weeks. You may also notice that it's a different background than previous videos. That is because I'm in the process of setting up a green screen. I just need some time to figure out the kinks, but this is where it's going to be. I'm going to be on my couch. Excuse me. I'm going to be on my couch just talking about sports. I got the most room over here. I feel the most at home. My butt doesn't hurt when sitting in the seat for too long like it does over there. Excuse me, goodness gracious. But yeah, just I was sitting on the kitchen stool for a long time, or not stool, chair, a long time, and that is a completely wooden chair. And it hurts my butt a lot when I'm there for, an hour and a half. So, here is just basically the new command center. Still at my apartment. So, have fun with it. Hopefully, I can get that green screen figured out here in the next couple of weeks, and I can provide an even better ScorchCast for you. Gonna figure out some other video stuff as well, because I want to make these ScorchCasts better. I know, we got the editing software and everything like that. I'm not a video editor, mind you. I am a writing editor, and just I'm not very good at video editing just because I really haven't had the time. But now that I do have some time on my hands, we're gonna learn some video editing. I promise you we will. Got a few things to talk about today. It's gonna be a shorter ScorchCast, just because we talked about a lot with those live streams and just overall, throughout the past couple of weeks, we've talked a lot about what I'm going to be talking about today, so it's kind of just summaries of stuff. Going to go over bowl predictions and awards for college football, as well as some transfers from a certain school in Kansas that I think we need to address, both in football and in basketball. And then we've got some stadium talk for the other school in Kansas, and some offensive coordinator talk as well. College basketball-wise, got a little bit to talk about. We're going to address the Nae'Qwon Tomlin situation. That's what I was talking about with basketball. That school in Kansas is Kansas State. I sometimes talk about them too, but mostly Kansas and Missouri because those are the ones that I write about. But we're going to talk a little bit about Nae'Qwon Tomlin. Got some Chiefs news for us. thankfully it's not a live stream, so I can censor myself um, a little better, I guess. But yeah, we got to talk about the Chiefs and their wide receiver room and really just their offense in general. But and then a few minor things as well. So strap in, sit tight. This has been a very very long intro, probably my longest ever. So thank you for sitting through it, and let's just get started. Okay, so let's talk about some bowl predictions. So first and foremost, Mizzou is the only team to make into your six bowl out of the three local teams. That doesn't mean the local teams did bad this year. It's just Mizzou did the best out of all of them. Mizzou went 10-2, and I think they placed like third or fourth in the SEC. So they deserve it. Their opponent is going to be Ohio State, led by not Kyle McCord, because Kyle McCord is in the transfer portal. They're talking about him going to possibly Nebraska. So, Coach Pearson, get excited about that. You're getting a quarterback that, all things considered, was kind of mid and had a fantastic wide receiver room. So, we'll see. You might also be getting Dylan Raiola, too. So, depends on if Georgia will let him leave or not. I don't know if you've been following that story, but it sounds like Georgia really is not happy that Dylan Raiola decommitted. But talking Missouri. Missouri is playing Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. Ohio State will be without Kyle McCord. I believe everybody else on that offense is playing though. I think Trevion Henderson said he wasn't. I think he's transferring. Actually, I can't remember for the life of me. Um, but I'll have to go back and look at all the transfer portal stuff. There's been so much transfer portal stuff going on. So we'll address that a little later. If I think the line changes or not on this. As of right now, I think Missouri wins that game. I truly do. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be an offensive shootout between two absolutely fantastic wide receiver cores. So it's going to be an air show, I think, and it's just going to come down to which secondary performs best. Missouri secondary is led by Abrams Drain, excuse me, who has been one of the better corners in the nation this year. I believe he made the All SEC team, and I think he's an All American as well. Um, Again, gonna have to go back and look to clarify. And I need like a show. You know how Pardon the Interruption. If you've ever watched ESPN at length and know what Pardon the is it Pardon the Interruption? It's not PTI, is it? No, it's not PTI. It is PTI, isn't it? Isn't it? I can't remember. But what's his face? Not Kornheiser, not Mike. It's oh god, what's his name? Tony something. I think it's Tony something. He's got the slicked back hair, and he does like all the errors and stuff that PTI misses. That guy. I need that guy. But I'm getting off track here. I apologize. But yeah, I think Missouri wins this in a close one. Um, I think it's going to be an air show. And without Kyle McCord at the helm, I think Ohio State is going to do a little worse. I haven't seen their backup play at all. So who knows? Maybe their backup's the next, Joe Burrow or someone like that. But doubt it. Otherwise, he'd probably be playing over McCord at this point. Um, but we'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's going to come down to what secondary which secondary performs the best. I think so. watch out for that one. I'm predicting. Do I want to give my score prediction yet? I'm going to be writing about this, so yeah, keep watch. But I'll be writing about this. I'll let you know if my take changes. But for now, because the game's not until like it's New Year. I think it's a New Year's game because it's a New Year's Six Bowl. So yeah, 2 years. So that game's not until early January. So I'm predicting as of now a 42 to 38 win for the Tigers. That's what I'm predicting right now. Again, that may change when I write my Cotton Bowl article, um, but we'll see. As for the other two schools, KU and Kansas State, let's start with KU first because Kansas State we got to talk a little bit more at length about. Um, so KU lost their offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki to Penn State. I will tell you right now, it is not nearly as big of a loss as everybody's making it out to be. KU still has the same playbook that they had because they still have the same personnel and the same coaching staff. Like coaching, you have to understand, coaches change up their playbook based on the personnel that they have, based on the coaching staff that they're a part of. Because there's a chance that KU plays Penn State in the future. There's a chance that KU plays an Andy Total Nicky coach offense in the future. So these offensive coordinators need to tweak their playbooks that they have in order to fit personnel for one, and then secondly, make sure that they're not immediately found out by the opposing team that they could have left. So um, the playbook stays basically the same, and then who you've got coming in, the old Baylor offense coordinator. I don't think he's going to be here for the bowl game. Zabrowski is going to be the guy for the bowl game. But hear me out on the Baylor guy because obviously Baylor didn't do all that great these past couple of years. Um, but he was responsible for one of the highest scoring offenses in really a couple days or a couple weeks. Sorry. Wow. All right. Listen, it's been a long couple of weeks. I apologize. A long couple a couple years ago when Baylor was in the Big 12 championship, he was their offensive coordinator. That was one of the highest scoring offenses in the Big 12, but also in the nation. Like it was a good offense led by Blake Shapen of all quarterbacks. And he wasn't even there for like half the season because their quarterback got injured. I can't remember the name of the backup, but their quarterback got injured. So what I'm saying is, it's not nearly as bad of a hire as a lot of people are trying to make it out to be. It's actually a pretty good hire. Um, I'll provide more information here in potentially an upcoming article, but also here, within the next couple of weeks, because again, I'm trying to recover. But KU is playing UNLV for their bowl game. Um, I believe UNLV starting quarterback also transferred. So, all things considered, KU should run away with this. Emphasis on should, because UNLV is still a very good program. And that's one that you'll probably want to watch because it kind of depends on which KU team shows up. Because if it's the one that, you know, Jason Bean led against Oklahoma, if it's that offense and if it's the defense that performed against either Cincinnati or UCF or Iowa State, should be just fine. Now, if it's the defense that showed up against Texas or it's the offense that showed up against Texas, then we have a problem. But overall, there's plenty of time for prep. Coach Dabrowski is going to be calling plays. Coach Dabrowski's been a long standing confidant of Lance Leipold since their Wisconsin Whitewater days. So I have full trust in him if I'm a KU fan, which I am. Um, but I have full trust that KU is going to beat UNLV pretty handily. I'm calling it right now 31-21. Um, but honestly, that score could be higher. I mean, we could see a very good game. So we'll keep an eye on. As for K State, like I said, we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to K State. K State has had. They're playing in the Pop Tart Bowl. KU was playing in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. But K State is playing in the Pop Tart Bowl, and if you haven't heard about this, the Pop Tart Bowl has a giant edible mascot that the winning team will get to eat after the game. A big Pop Tart that will be able to be eaten by the winner of the Pop Tart Bowl. All right. Capitalism is such an interesting creation. But, you know, we got to talk about the Kansas State transfers because there's just been a mass exodus of Kansas State players. Will Howard's gone. Basically, that entire QB room, sans Avery Johnson, is gone. Um, you've got some of their best wide receivers. Garcia's gone. Sinnott declared for the NFL draft. I'm not sure if he's playing in the bowl or not. Um, I don't know if he said that in his letter that he wrote for social media. But he's gone after this year for sure. Um, got um, basically that entire defensive back room too. I know that they lost their two best ones, Kobe Savage and Will. Oh, what's his face? I can't remember his name. Uh, Sorry, got a text. But yeah, just overall, those transfers are going to have an impact because they're not going to be able to play in the bowl game. Um, K State is playing a very good NC State team that is rolling right now. I think they went. I think they've gone like 6 wins in a row or something like that. 6 or 7 wins in a row. So they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Um, and if I'm a K Stater, I I'm less concerned about the performance of the bowl game and more concerned about where are these guys. Why is there just such a drop off? Why are guys leaving? And yeah, you can point to NIL. You can point to the fact that by really most accounts, K State underperformed this year. A lot of people were predicting them to go right back into the Big 12 championship. Fortunately, Oklahoma got good. Texas got good. Kansas got good. And I know, yeah, Kansas didn't beat them, but they had them beat for a long time until whatever fresh crap happened. Well, I was at that game and I was so mad. That was the day before my birthday, and my friends wanted to go out after the game, and I was just like, no, thank you. I want to go home and go to bed. I want to go home and go to bed. Thanks, but no thanks. Um, because KU had that game won, and KU would have won if Jason Bean started. But the past is the past. And right now, Kansas State's athletic department is struggling. We'll get into more into how they're struggling when we get to college basketball. But overall, it's tough to say K State wins this game. It is. Um, I think K State's going to have a very, very hard time winning this game. And yes, NC State's from a very weak ACC. That's the whole reason Florida State got left out of the college football playoff. I'm not going to get into that argument. This is a Kansas City sports cast, not a national one. I've already said my piece on the national one on the in the college football dogs meetings. Being on the playoff committee. Um, but I mean, seriously, K State has lost a ton of guys. They're going to be reeling from that. They're without a starting quarterback right now. Yes, Avery Johnson performed well against Cupcakes, but I don't want to say Cupcakes, but like teams that were kind of bottom feeders of the Big 12 um, performed decently against. NC State is not that. NC State is actually a pretty decent program that will give this K State team a run for their money. Um, I'm predicting as of now a 34-31 victory for the NC State Wolfpack. I think K State's going to stay in it, but in the end, I think the Wolfpack. Um, they don't have as many transfers. They don't have as many guys. Excuse me, as many guys leaving. I think that's a Wolfpack victory. So, um, just one final piece of college football news. The new stadium for the Kansas Jayhawks is underway. The Gateway District is being built as we speak. Well, not built yet, but the booth is getting deconstructed. You can follow it on the KU Athletics website. They got a live feed of the construction site, which I think is pretty cool. Um, so um, that first half of the new stadium is going to be built by, they say, by the beginning of this next year. Um, I know KU is going to be filling a lot of their games at Arrowhead too, is what I hear as well. They're going to have a couple home games at Arrowhead just due to the construction that's going on. Um, but overall, should be a pretty cool sight to see. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. Um, on to college basketball. Okay, on to college basketball, and really we just have one topic for college basketball, but it's a pretty extensive one. So the Nae'Qwon Tomlin situation. If you don't already know, Nae'Qwon Tomlin is or was a basketball player for the Kansas State Wildcats. Um, Nae'Qwon Tomlin has found himself in hot water as of late with regard to staying out of legal trouble. And by that, I mean he was caught up in a bar scuffle that I believe he was charged for assault in. I believe that was the charge, was assault. Um, and was suspended from the Kansas State program indefinitely. Um, this situation had a lot of question marks to it. The police weren't being that transparent because it's an open case. Um, so it's understandable. There were no cameras at that bar, which I'm pretty sure by Kansas state law is illegal. I think you have to have cameras in an establishment that serves alcohol. I think. Don't quote me on that. Um, but it was at a bar called Tubby's. It's down in Aggieville. It's well known for not being the most reputable of bars. But Nae'Qwon Tomlin found himself there anyway. Um, and by what I have heard, this is not fact. This is by what I have heard. I don't know the facts. I wasn't there that night. I don't have the police report in front of me. Um, this is just what I have heard. Nae'Qwon Tomlin was called a racial slur by a woman at the bar. Tomlin proceeded to confront the woman on it and allegedly left this woman with a broken nose. Allegedly. That is what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not because I'm seeing a lot of K State insiders refute this. But then again, I'm also seeing a lot of K State insiders saying, well, we don't know anything right now. It could have been something as little as a verbal argument. It could have been something as serious as a physical altercation. That's all we know. But I believe Tomlin got off with diversion. I believe. Again, that is what I heard. I don't know that because the court documents, I haven't seen them. They haven't been released yet. This isn't an open and shut case. And it's a case with a lot of controversy behind it because how law enforcement is handling it versus how the athletic department of Kansas State is handling it are very different. Law enforcement seems to be very, you know, behind closed doors, and again, yeah, it's an open case, so they're really not allowed or at liberty to reveal all that much. As for the as for the Kansas State athletic department, they're kind of acting like Nae'Qwon Tomlin is guilty before proven innocent. And it's not necessarily the athletic department itself. Gene Taylor, the athletic director of Kansas State, it's not necessarily his doing. It seems to be President Linton, the university president of Kansas State. Um, it seems to be what he's doing that drove Nae'Qwon Tomlin off campus. I say drive him off campus because he's committed to go play at Memphis and is expected to be a midseason transfer. He was kicked off the Kansas State basketball team after getting suspended. A lot of people were expecting, Gene Taylor's going to come out and say that Nae'Qwon Tomlin can play again. A lot of signs pointed toward that because after reports came out that he was going through diversion, that the case had been closed, things were done and dusted. A lot of people were like, "Yeah, no, Nae'Qwon Tomlin's coming back." Um, and then we got protests because the university wasn't being transparent enough, I guess, and still wasn't lifting the suspension. Um, we got people calling state legislators regarding the issue. Um, state legislators have better things to worry about than a college basketball player's eligibility. I'm just gonna say that right now, and the fact that people called the state legislators over it is absurd. It is because Kansas State legislature has a lot more to worry about than the status of a Kansas State basketball player. They have a lot more to worry about with the status of a Kansas basketball player. And I'm not saying, well, it would be a different situation if the Kansas basketball player was a part of it. No, it wouldn't have. That's why I'm saying it. And a lot of people are comparing this to the Arterio Morris situation. That situation is very different than this situation. This situation, it seems like the university screwed up here. In that situation, Arterio Morris was given a second chance because of what happened at Texas. What happened at Texas was he got charged with assault, but the case was dismissed. That's what happened. Um, I don't think the charges were dropped. I think the case was just dismissed. Um, for lack of evidence, I don't know. But then Arterio Morris went and allegedly raped a woman on campus, and that resulted in consequences, justifiably so. And if Nae'Qwon Tomlin actually hit this woman and broke her nose, racial slur or not, he's got to have justice. You just can't hit somebody. And I understand, that's in the racial slur that was used. Racial slurs in general, are terrible. Don't use them. Like plain and simple, just don't use them. They're hurtful words that only result to trouble. And but let me just say this, but resulting to violence, I don't want to say it just makes the situation worse. It does. And it makes you look like the bad guy more. Because then at that point, well, it's a he said, she said moment. And you got to depend on the eyewitnesses, especially when there's no cameras. So, unfortunately, we don't know what happened. So, in the case of we don't know what happened, there's a lot more up in the air. And I think that's why President Linton pulled the trigger and just kicked him off campus. There had to have been something that President Linton knew that nobody else did. Especially with the statement that Jerome Tank put out about it, how we need to surround ourselves with love and like move forward with love and everything like that. He's not putting out that statement unless something drastic happened, which it kind of did, yeah, with the protests and the calling of state legislators and everything like that. It got a little bit out of hand and could have gotten a lot more out of hand if he didn't make that statement. Luckily, they listened to their basketball coach instead of just being like, nah, screw that. We're going to go storm the president's office. But my point being is this: what happened happened. Nae'Qwon Tomlin's off the team. He's going to Memphis. If your success as a program depends on one player, and yes, I know it's basketball and everything, but so there's less players and all, the talent gets fewer and farther between, etc., etc. If your success in basketball depends on a single player, you're not a good basketball team. You're not. I mean, you're truly not. And to have people this up in arms over basketball when someone very well could have been injured in this situation, as a woman could have been hit in a situation. And again, racial slur or no racial slur, that's a problem that needs to be addressed. And I know you can point to all you want about KU basketball's quote unquote ignorance towards these situations. The stuff with Josh Jackson, while he was here at KU, the Ontario Morris stuff. I know that there were a few things with other past basketball players, Jalen Wilson's DUI. There's a lot of stuff that you can point to in regard to college athletics that is less than moral, less than reputable. But at the same time, I think President Linton is just making a statement here of, hey, that's not going to be tolerated. And I think the protests and the calling of the state legislators only made the situation worse. And again, like, I don't think he pulls the trigger here without knowing some information that we don't. I really don't think so. So I think K State fans just need to take a step back and look at this situation from an objective point of view and understand that, unfortunately, Nae'Qwon Tomlin, at the very least, found himself in a precarious situation when he shouldn't have been in. He shouldn't have been in one. If you are a college basketball player, if you are a Division One college basketball player, especially nowadays with NIL and everything like that, that opportunity comes to like 2%, if that, of people in this country. You have to be truly gifted to even make Division One, let alone make a Power Five school, let alone make a team as good as the Kansas State Wildcats. And the fact that Nae'Qwon Tomlin found himself in this situation where he could have easily have just stayed home, he could have easily made better decisions, and he could have easily shown more character and didn't, speaks volumes. And I'm saying this about KU players too. I've seen nothing for nothing, but I've seen underage KU basketball players out at bars. I've seen KU basketball players get in the face of people, just random people, and just be like, "You know who I am? This, that, and the other thing." And I think it's disgusting. Be humble. Be accountable. Be an adult. You don't find yourself in situations like this. That's all Nae'Qwon Tomlin had to do. And he wouldn't be in this situation. That's all the K State protesters had to do was go to class. Why are you standing for an alleged abuser? It's bad optics. So overall, just it's a messy situation. And do I think President Linton overreacted? Do I think he kind of did this in kind of a, sketchy way where he went through Gene Taylor and kind of threw him under the bus? Kind of. But at the same time, this situation could have been avoided. It absolutely could have been avoided. So here's my 2 cents on it. I've spoken at length about it. Like I said, it was the only topic of college basketball for a reason. KU and MU played in the border war. Uh, it went as you probably would have expected. KU won by double digits. It was 9 points. 9 points, actually. 9 points. So it was closer than expected. But, I mean, KU just showed how much better of a program they are. And really how much better of a program they've been since, like, 2013. So, do with that information what you will. So, we're on to the Chiefs, which is going to be some more ranting. All right, on to the Chiefs, and then we'll wrap this up with a couple of other pieces of information. Um, the Chiefs have a problem. The Chiefs have a have an accountability problem, mainly in their wide receiver room. So, if you didn't watch the game on Sunday, honestly, be glad you didn't, because the Chiefs don't look good right now. They don't. Plain and simple, they don't. Their defense looks decent, great, even most points at least. But this offense is a husk of what it once was. Now, I'm not going to say what Ryan Clark said or what any of these analysts have said about, oh, Patrick Mahomes is broken. This Chiefs offense is terrible. Blah, 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 blah. And, no, spare me it. Patrick Mahomes is not broken, first and foremost. He's not. Sorry, my cat's here. It just, oh my gosh. So basically, what the offense suffers from is a lack of leadership in the wide receiver room. Is the biggest issue. And I understand that, well, the whole offense is at fault. You can't just blame it on the wide receivers. Actually, you can. Kadarius Toney has been responsible for two game-changing moments. The drop versus the Lions that led to an interception, and the offsides call that negated a game-winning touchdown. Just two gut punches Kadarius Toney is responsible for. And then you have MVS, who at this stage in his career should know how to catch a ball, right? He's had two missed drops that have resulted in the Chiefs losing over this season. That's 4 games that the Chiefs have lost due to their wide receivers. And I don't want to hear, well, we could have done this differently, we could have done that differently throughout the game, and that's why we lost. No, it's the wide receivers. Stop being this well, we'll do better next time. That's gotten so old. It's gotten old. There's not gonna be a next time if y'all keep losing. And if you don't fix the problem, and the problem is the wide receivers are undisciplined, they're unskilled, uh, and frankly speaking, they're a liability because there's no accountability in that room. Not even from the coach, wide receivers coach, who refuses. At this point, I'm convinced he refuses to teach these guys anything. We have one of the youngest wide receiver rooms in the entire league. And the two oldest guys in that room, MVS and Kadarius Toney. Justin Watson might be older, but I'm not sure. But MVS and Kadarius Toney are in the top three of oldest wide receivers in that room. Are responsible for 4 of the Chiefs' losses this year. 4. And yeah, I get it. Well, there's certain things that could have been done differently. There's certain things that could be done differently in car accidents too, but there's still someone at fault. And Kadarius Toney and MVS share the majority of the blame for those 4 games. It's just a fact. And the fact that you have guys like Travis Kelsey, like MVS, oh my gosh. Like MVS has dodged the most accountability out of any player that I've seen. He hasn't even said, "Yeah, I'll do better next time." Yeah, that's on me. I apologize. He stuck to his guns and just said, "Yeah, whatever, man. Yeah, sure. Ha ha, funny. I'm not. What are you talking about?" But being a child, have some accountability. And the stuff that Travis Kelsey said on New Heights is just regurgitating what Andy Reid said. It's not leadership if nothing changes, if nothing progresses, Travis. And nothing's progressed. Nothing has happened to improve this wide receiver room. It's all for show. All this talk is for show. There's no actions behind it. And that's what people are upset about. Forget, Kadarius Toney, he got singled out. We're always getting singled out by the refs. No, 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 no. This this is not a ref issue. There is a ref issue in the consistency that calls are being made because yeah, it absolutely needs to be more consistent. But Kadarius Toney was blatantly offsides and has been for a while. If you go watch his tape, he's offsides like every other play. They just don't call it. But in this case, he was so abjectly offside that he was covering the ball. The rest couldn't see it. Oh, I checked, I checked. No, you didn't. You gave the ref a quick glance and called it good. No, you wait for the referee's confirmation or you wait for the referee's direction before you're just like, yeah, sure, okay, man. It's not up to you. It's up to the referee, Kadarius. And when you are that far offside where the referee can't even see the ball in the center's hand, he has to call it. They have to call it. And again, yes, is it a consistency issue? Absolutely, because I've seen it around the league. I have. But you have to take accountability. The wide receivers have sucked this year. They've sucked. And there's been no improvement. Every week, you promise improvement. Andy Reid saying, we'll do better. Travis Kelce saying, we'll do better. Patrick Mahomes saying, we'll do better. Where has the talk been from the wide receivers? I saw one tweet from Kadarius Toney saying, my bad, y'all. I'll do better next time. Again, just regurgitating what Andy said. Stick up for yourselves. Have some accountability. Be a freaking man. Because at this point, it's just lip service. We're tired of it. Do something. And I get it, yeah, maybe the Chiefs won't win the Super Bowl this year. God forbid we don't. But at this point, it's a question of are we going to even make it past the wild card round? Are we going to make it to the playoffs at all? That's what people are talking about with the Chiefs. That talk wouldn't happen if you actually did some improvement. So I don't understand what exactly is the problem to where wide receivers just can't say, yeah, okay, that's on me. I got to do this, that, and the other thing better, and I will work on it. And they actually work on it. And again, I think it goes back to coaching. Andy Reid's been giving lip service. Matt Nagy's been giving lip service. Coach Embry, the wide receivers coach, has been giving lip service. There's nothing being done. And soon, it's for sure, I think it's going to cost Coach Embry's job. I think a lot of people are calling for his head right now. For good reason. That wide receiver room's the most undisciplined wide receiver room I've seen ever in the Kansas City Chiefs history. We had a year where the Chiefs wide receivers didn't score a single touchdown. 2012. We went 2-14 that year. Wide receivers didn't score one touchdown. And I think this wide receiver room is worse than that wide receiver room. I fully believe that. Wayne Bowe was part of that wide receiver room in 2012. We just had a crappy quarterback in Matt Castle. No offense to Matt. You're great. But, uh, man. Man. At least those wide receivers were just like, yeah, no, we're kind of going through it right now. But we're improving. Kind of. We're doing what we can with the crap quarterback that we have. But you guys have Patrick LaVon Mahomes II, the two-time Super Bowl winner, I think two-time MVP, maybe three-time. I can't remember. I think he was. Has it been two or three? I don't know. But everybody and their mother knows he is the best player in the NFL right now. And you are wasting one of his prime years by not doing jack for him. He wasn't upset at the referees. I think he was upset at you guys. He just needed a mouthpiece to go through. And the referees. He lost his cool because you, Kadarius Toney, screwed up. Yeah, he blamed the refs in the moment because they made the call, and Patrick Mahomes is a better man than I and isn't going to blame his teammate for that screw up. I would have been all over Kadarius Toney personally. I would have been like, "Are you serious? That's a youth football level mistake. Youth football. They teach you that in youth football. High school players know how to check with the referee. And Kadarius Toney just seemingly doesn't." Because again, this is not the first time this has happened. It just couldn't have happened at the worst. It just couldn't have been called at the worst time. And that's why people are upset. That and, just mountains of excuses and mountains of lip service. Actually do better, and then we can talk. So that's my advice. Obviously, I think you go get a wide receiver in next year's draft. I'm hoping. I was talking with my friend Aaron. He's also a big Chiefs fan that knows his stuff. And he told me Veach better overcorrect like he did after Super Bowl 55 when the Chiefs played Tampa Bay with that patchwork offensive line. Um, and he said Veach better overcorrect like he did after that. I fully agree. I think Veach goes out and drafts at least 3 or 4 wide receivers. He has to at this point. Because frankly speaking, there's not a single wide receiver in that room other than Rashee Rice, who's a rookie, mind you, that has proven their worth. Justin Watson's shown flashes. He's been decent. But outside of Rashee Rice, he's been the best guy. And that's not saying anything. That's not saying anything at all. Because the rest of the guys have actively been liabilities. So we haven't seen much of Richie James. We haven't seen much of Justin Ross. One's been injured. One's been on the commissioner's exempt list for something that's now been dropped. And yet Von Miller was still allowed to play, even though he still has an open case of domestic violence against him. And he was offsides on that last play too for the Chiefs. He was. Go check the tape. I'm not going to get into the referee argument. I have done that too many times. And frankly speaking, my opinion has not changed. Consistency over everything. You can have the worst calls imaginable. But if you're not consistent, then it sticks out like a sore thumb. And it gets you in trouble as a referee. So we can talk more about referees later. Let's get into these last couple things and then we'll wrap up. Okay. So one thing I forgot to mention in my intro, and I am recording this after I got done recording all the other ones, including my outro, um, was the Royals. The Royals were actually not busy this past week. They signed a couple of pitchers. Seth Lugo from the Padres, who is pretty good. He's got starter capability. Um, Not too bad. I think he will do well. And then excuse me. Let me look real quick. Uh, to see who the other guys are. So, Kansas City Royals. Signs. There you go. Okay. So the Royals have signed as of recent. Didn't they sign Lugo? Okay. So where's the Lugo transaction? They did something with Lugo, did they not? Okay. Yeah. So Lugo and Chris Stratton were both signed. Stratton played for the World Series champion Rangers, and I believe has played for every World Series champion for like the past like 5 years or something like that. And I think he was a Royal before that. So he comes back to the team. Um, Seth Lugo is or was a good starter for the San Diego Padres. Um, but my favorite out of all these is um, left-handed pitcher Will Smith. He certainly knows how to get jiggy with it, if you know what I mean. Um, as in he's a good pitcher, not anything else that I know of. I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, the Royals built up their bullpen, and I think that is a great idea, especially if you're not going to bring back Greinke. Um, you know, Royals pitching was hit or miss um, last season. Obviously, they tied their franchise worst record last season. Not great, certainly not great. But can't be helped now. Past is the past. Part of that reason though was lack of experienced pitchers, um, and the fact that they're building pitchers is great. And it doesn't sound like they're done yet. Um, they're in the market for Marcus Stroman. Stroman, if you don't know, pitched for the Blue Jays, and for a couple other teams, and is not that bad of a pitcher. So I'm hoping the Royals somehow snag him to kind of just fill out this bullpen with at least one more starter, um, and then kind of focus on their position players. You might need to look into the replacement for Salvador Perez. Um, you're gonna have to look at outfielders too. The outfield isn't good, and then obviously hitters. Yeah, you got Bobby Witt. Yeah, you got Vinny Pascantino coming back, um, and a couple more guys that can put the ball in play. But I'm talking big bats. You need guys that can get the ball out, not just in play, out. Um, yeah, and the Royals just simply didn't have that last year. Bobby Witt Jr. I believe was the home run leader, um, and he didn't really have all that many. So, comparatively speaking, at least he hit a decent amount. It was around the league average um, for his position, but um, you know above the league average. I meant to say, but eh, this is a great start, to be honest. Signing some quality pitching is a great step forward for the Royals. As long as they know how to put together the bullpen, should be all good. So that's my take on the Royals. Thank you. Okay, so some minor news. Sporting Kansas City, unfortunately, got knocked out in the Western Conference semifinals against Houston. They lost, I believe, 2-1, or was it 1-0? I can't remember for the life of me. But they lost by a goal against a Houston team that proved that they were there to play. That they weren't scared of this Sporting Kansas City team that was on a hot streak, and Sporting kind of just crapped the bed a little, to be honest. Um, they they overall couldn't capitalize on possession like they did against St. Louis. They weren't tenacious on defense, and had a lot of missed opportunities. So, fortunately, that results in a loss most of the time. But there's a lot to be proud of with this Sporting Kansas City team. After having only 3 goals in the first 10 games, starting out like that and just being dead last for basically the first half of the season to make it to the playoffs and to beat the consensus number one team in the West, it's impressive. And I don't think Sporting Kansas City should hang their heads. I think this was a great run that they had. Fortunately, it was not to be. I think they got some work to do next year. Obviously, they're losing Graham Zusi, and I believe a couple other guys too. I don't think Johnny Russell's going to come back. Espinosa's gone as well, I'm pretty sure. So losing some veteran talent, they got to replace. Um, and there's a lot of promising young guys on this team. So I'm expecting Peter Vermees, who is one of the best coaches in the MLS and proved it by getting this team to the playoffs and by getting this team past the number one team in the West. I think he's got a great track record, and I think he's going to get this team in good form by uh, by April. So, um, second piece and last piece of news: the Blues Toy Drive, the Don Bosco Toy Drive that is hosted by the Kansas City Blues and the St. Thomas Aquinas High School rugby team. The Blues Toy Drive begins the series of events this coming Saturday, December 16th. They're going to be having a toy drive party at Block 15 over off of Delaware Street in North Kansas City. Bring a toy or bring a $20 donation to get in. It's a great time. They have a lot of fun. Block 15 is a great venue, and it should be a great one. Um, Definitely a fun time, and it's a time to give back as well. Um, obviously, with um, when it comes to giving back, we've done a lot this year as the Burn KC community with the Movember donations. Um, I'm asking you to do a little more to help these underserved kids in the area. I'll be there. I know a lot of my rugby mates will be there as well, and it should be a great time. Please come if you can. If not, go to the wrapping or go to the toy delivery. Um, I believe those dates are on the Blues Rugby Facebook page. I can't remember them off the top of my head. I apologize. But again, just all three of those events are a great time. So, and it's for a good cause. So please show up if you can. It's gonna be good. So, that's our show. Thank you very much for joining me. This has been Deep Burn KC signing off. Have a great night.